Hi, I'm John Beckett, Druid, priest, and writer. Some of the earliest examples we have of the modern pagan revival are poems and similar writings dedicated to various deities, especially to Zeus and to Pan. These were written by people in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s. People who lived in a thoroughly Christian society who liked to imagine what it must have been like to be a pagan. Well, over the years, that approach changed from, I wish I could be a pagan, to, maybe I can be a pagan, to, I'm just going to act like a pagan, to, I am a pagan. And all the while they were writing their hymns and poems and songs, they were telling their stories of their experiences of and with these deities. And then, as modern technology made small print runs practical, namely print-on-demand technology, people started compiling and selling devotional anthologies. Books, some of them written all by the same author, some of them written by many authors, of devotional material. Again, poems, songs, hymns, stories of experiences. There are several of such books dedicated to several deities. But for a long time, there was nothing for Cernunnos. Jason Mankey and I were talking about this, and we decided that it was time Cernunnos had his own book.
When I think about the Book of Cernunnos, the first thing that comes to mind is 4 years. 4 years is not how long I've been honoring Cernunnos. It goes much, much further back than that. But 4+ years is how long it took to put this particular book together. Going back through my notes, I thought that maybe we had started in late 2019, maybe early 2020. But the first message that I got about this was from John in 2018, asking, would you be interested in doing an anthology about Cernunnos? At that time, there had been dozens of anthologies, devotional books put together by various devotees of particular deities, goddesses, and gods. And there had not yet been one for Cernunnos. I like to think that John asked me to help him with the project because when we would go to various pagan festivals, John and I would often do things involving Cernunnos together, whether that was a workshop, a ritual, or John waking me at 8 in the morning to go stand in front of a druid shrine dedicated to Cernunnos to talk about the god as the sun came up. And I would probably only ever do that for John. While I was working on the Book of Cernunnos, I was also simultaneously working on another book called The Horned God of the Witches. By the time I started writing The Horned God of the Witches in 2019, I had been talking about the Horned God at various pagan festivals for 20+ years. A really, really long time. But when I started the book, I wanted to sort of wipe the slate clean and go back and do research fresh and anew to see if there were things that I had missed the first time I'd gone through. And also to see if perhaps I had made a mistake somewhere along the line and had just kept repeating that mistake over and over, which is really pretty easy to do. So I started working on Cernunnos fresh. I had access to academic journals that I had not had in the past. Because of the pandemic, a lot of places opened things up. So I had all of this new material that I could really use. And one of the things that I found out while I was working on this is that there was a deity, has to be a deity, I think, very similar to Cernunnos, found in the same part of the world as Cernunnos, also with antlers, also in similar poses to Cernunnos, but female, which is a thing that I had really missed the first time around, and I found it really interesting to have stumbled upon it again. One of the things about this little figure is that I had actually seen it at the British Museum where it's stored in 2014, long before I had decided to write a Horned God book for Llewellyn. So while I was writing the history for this book, I got to bring all of that fresh perspective in and include things that generally had not been included in popular histories of Cernunnos previously. So that was really exciting for me. Part of the reason this took 4 years to do was because we had to find contributors. One of the things that we really wanted to do was to find a wide and diverse array of people to write about their experiences with Cernunnos. That we thought maybe that would be hard to do, but people, as soon as we announced the project, got back to us and said they would be really happy to write about that. And I think sometimes when we think about horned gods, we think of perhaps the people who worship them are druids or middle-aged Wiccan witches, and that's really not the case in this book. There's such a wide and diverse amount of Cernunnos devotees in these pages. And one of the great things about their contributions is they are as important as anything that John or I wrote for this book. And it's as much their book as it is ours. And it's just exciting to have all of these different perspectives. I've been really blown away by the reception to the Book of Cernunnos since it's come out. People were really excited when we released it, and it continues to sell pretty well. Not that sales really matter, it's just what's exciting is that people obviously love this god and that it resonates with them. And hopefully, that's exactly what we captured in the pages of this book.
And now we are honored to present to you the Call of Cernunnos, a 5-week online class based on the Book of Cernunnos and based on the kinds of experiences that led people to write these things. You don't have to be special to have an experience of a god. You don't have to be called to pray and make offerings. This course will show you how we relate to Cernunnos, how the other writers of this book relate to Cernunnos, and while what we show you will not be the one true way, because there is no one true way, it will give you ideas for building your own practice of devotion to Cernunnos, Lord of the Animals and Lord of the Hunt. I hope you'll join us. So let's talk about the goals for this course. What do we want to cover? What do we want to learn here? We want to learn what we know of Cernunnos from ancient times. We often say that Cernunnos has no lore. Well, that's not entirely true. We do know a few things about Cernunnos from ancient times. We want to learn how different people experience and understand Cernunnos today. Ultimately, as far as I'm concerned anyway, this is what's more important. It's nice to know how ancient people understood Cernunnos. We need to know how people understand and experience and relate to Cernunnos here and now. We want to survey the Book of Cernunnos. This is the collection of devotional writings and stories and poems that 32 different people have contributed to that are telling their experiences with Cernunnos. This gives you some idea of what your experiences might be like. And in doing all this, we want to meet Cernunnos. What this course is not. So as Jason was talking about in the video, Cernunnos is a horned god, but he's not the horned god. He's one of many horned gods. And this course isn't about the horned god, either singular or plural. This course is about Cernunnos. It's not any true secret knowledge, either that we've dug up from ancient times or that we've experienced ourselves. This is our experiences. And it's not the only way to understand and relate to Cernunnos. Deities tend to meet people where they are. And if your experience doesn't look exactly like our experiences, well, that's okay. This isn't the only way. This is the way that works for us. So it may be a good place for you to start. It's not the one true way. There is no one true way. Who should take this course? It's intended for pagans and polytheists and witches. That's what Jason and I are. That's who we're who we're doing this course for. But anyone with an interest in Cernunnos should be able to get something out of it, even if you're a soft polytheist, even if you're a non-theist. If you have an interest in Cernunnos, you're welcome to take this class, and you should get something out of it. And again, anyone with an open mind is welcome. If you're an agnostic, if you're an atheist, if you're a open-minded Christian, you're welcome to take this class. There are no prerequisites. Some of the Under the Ancient Oaks courses have prerequisites, or either a previous course you have to take or other material you should be familiar with. This is not one of them. Let's talk about what the course is going to look like. We start with Module 0, the introduction. That's what you're watching right now. Module 1, Cernunnos History and Lore. We're going to talk about what we know about Cernunnos from ancient times. Module 2 is Cernunnos and Me. How we understand Cernunnos, how we relate to Cernunnos, our experiences of him and with him. So Cernunnos is a god of the wild, lord of the animals, lord of the hunt, god of the forest and of green growing things. Most of us don't live in the wild. Most of us don't live in the forest. We live in cities and suburbs. How do we relate to a god of the wild living in these modern human-built places? It's different, but it's very much doable. It's what we're doing now. So we're going to talk about how you relate to a god of the wild in some very not wild places. Module 4 is the Call of Cernunnos. Many deities are active today. The Morrigan is among the most active, calling people to her service. So is Odin, so is Hecate, so is Brigid. Cernunnos isn't as loud as some of them, but he's out there, he's calling people, and we're going to talk about what that call looks like and how you can respond to it. In Module 5 will be a live Zoom session. First time we've done this on an Under the Ancient Oaks class. It's always been pre-recorded, live on demand. This time we're actually going live. We will begin with a live devotional ritual. Then Jason and I are going to have a conversation, our experiences with Cernunnos, what we've learned from building this course and presenting it. As I sit here recording this in December, I don't know what that's going to be like, but I'm sure we're going to learn something from this class. We're going to have a conversation, and you're welcome to sit in on it. And then we're going to open it up for questions, live Q&A. We expect the whole thing to run about an hour. It will be recorded, so if you can't make our the live Zoom session, it will be there for you probably later that day. If this is 2026, 2027, 2028, and you're taking this class, the recording will be there for your benefit. This class is based on the Book of Cernunnos, and it is required reading for the class. Now, Jason and I aren't going to come to your house and inspect your bookshelves to make sure you have it. But if you don't have it, you're not going to get as much out of the class as if you do have it and can do the reading assignments and, again, can get many different perspectives on Cernunnos instead of just ours. It is a devotional anthology. Jason and I edited it. Both of us wrote some pieces in it, but it is the work of 32 contributors, of writers, artists, poets, ritualists. Runs 189 pages. Was published in 2023 by ADF Publishing. and it is available through Amazon and only through Amazon. ADF provided the editing services. They handle the distribution, but it is printed through Amazon's print-on-demand service. 20 years ago, you could not have had this book, or it would have been a Xerox copy stapled together. Print-on-demand technology allows books that don't have enough demand to do a 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 piece print run to make those economically viable. So your copy of if you don't have a copy yet, it probably doesn't exist. You order it, Amazon prints it, ships it to you. And again, that makes books with relatively low demand viable for publishing as a real nice looking physical book. The downside is only one place you can get it. If you have taken other Under the Ancient Oaks courses before, this will look very familiar. There will be the 4 weekly videos. They are on demand, meaning they're released on Thursday mornings, and you watch the videos when you have time, whether that's on Thursday or on Friday or on the weekend. They're there. If you want to go back and watch them 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years later, they'll be there. There is required reading for the class. Each module will have a section that you need to read, and then of course there's the whole books there for your enjoyment and education. There will be more homework of meditation and contemplation. We'll talk about those as we get into the modules. And then there's the live Zoom session. And again, we've already described what we're going to do there. That's different for Under the Ancient Oaks. We'll see how it goes. There is an Under the Ancient Oaks Facebook group. It is a secret group, so you can't search for it. You have to tell me, and I will invite you to it. It's there for questions. It's there for conversation among classmates. There is one Facebook group for all the Under the Ancient Oaks class participants, so there will be some people there who have taken other classes who aren't taking this one. Participation is completely voluntary. If you don't like Facebook, you're not on Facebook, don't want to do Facebook, no problem. Some classes there's a fair amount of discussion. Some classes there's not so much. It is there for your benefit. The cost is $50 for the entire class. I prefer PayPal. Almost everybody who's taken Under the Ancient Oaks classes is paid via PayPal. It's just simpler. I can also take Venmo, I can take Zelle, I can take credit cards, I can take some other forms of payment. I am the registrar. Do not contact Jason about registering. He'll just send you to me. As with other Under the Ancient Oaks classes, there are some scholarships available. If you are capable, if you're in good shape financially, I encourage you to consider sponsoring a scholarship student. Every sponsorship I get fully funds one scholarship student, and it contributes as a paid registration toward the number of scholarships that I provide. So the more paid registrations I get, the more sponsorships I get, the more scholarships I can offer. Scholarship application deadline is January 11th, 2025. Let's look at our schedule. On January 2nd, Module 0 is released. That's what you're watching now. Registration opens. Scholarship applications are accepted. Saturday, January 11th is the deadline for scholarship applications. By Monday the 13th, applicants will be notified whether we were able to fill your scholarship or not. Thursday, January 16th is when Module 1 is available. They'll run for 4 straight weeks. Sunday, February 16th is our live Zoom session. We do not have a time for that right now. I can tell you it will be in the afternoon. So that's probably early afternoon if you're on the West Coast and late afternoon if you're on the East Coast. If you're in Europe, that's going to put it on Sunday night. The vast majority of Under the Ancient Oaks students are in North America, so we're going to tailor it toward them. We will let you know exactly when it is once we establish the time, but again, it will be that Sunday afternoon. Pre-registration is required. We'll open the pre-registrations after Module 4 is released. I need to know how many people are going to be in the live Zoom session. My Zoom subscription is limited. If I need to pay extra for greater capacity, I will do that, but I don't want to do that if what I've got is already more than enough. So pre-registration is required. And again, if you miss it, it will be recorded. Questions. If you have questions about the course, the materials, or its application, I'll answer. If you have a question now, trying to decide if you want to sign up or not, send me an email. I'll do my best to answer it. Through the course of the course, questions will come up. Feel free to ask questions as they arise. The response format will vary. Sometimes I'll answer in an email. Sometimes I'll throw it out in the Facebook group and see what does everybody else think about this, because maybe you need a perspective different from mine, different from Jason's. I have been known to take class questions and turn them into blog posts. And then we will have the live Q&A at the end. So as questions, if you can save your questions for live Q&A, you need an answer now, send me an email. I'll do my best to answer. I am always available to answer class-related questions. So again, if this is 2026, 2027, you're taking this class, you have a question, send me an email. I'll do my best to answer. I can't make promises for Jason, but I imagine if you send him a class-related question, he's going to answer too. The caveat on that is that I don't do casual conversation. Don't send me a link and say, hey, read this and tell me what you think. I don't have time for that. I don't do casual conversation online with my friends. Yeah, but always happy to answer class-related questions. Like it? Want to sign up? Send me an email at john@undertheancientoaks.com or use the contact form on the website. I will send you a PayPal invoice. When that's done, I'll register you for the class. Expect a 24-hour turnaround. I know there are some teachers who have automatic registration. You put your credit card in and you get instant access. My tech skills are rather low, so I'm doing all this manually in the background, and at the volume we have for this, it works. So that's what we'll do. Expect a 24-hour turnaround.
So why should you take our Cernunnos class? That's a really great question. If you're somebody who is very interested in Cernunnos, this is probably an obvious place to start. John and I have been devotees of the god for at least 20 plus years, each of us. So it's a lot of Cernunnos experience. But one of the great things that you're going to get in this class is a lot of different perspectives on Cernunnos that go outside of just what John and I have experienced. In the Book of Cernunnos, there's a vast array of experiences, and there are a vast array of people who have already signed up for this class, and they're going to share their experiences. Cernunnos is a very interesting deity in that there is not necessarily a lot of mythology about the god, and so our shared experiences with Cernunnos are even more important because of that. And we're really putting together a modern roadmap to how people honor the god today, how they see the god, and how they worship the god. Also, I will tell you that John is extremely meticulous, and there is not an I that is not dotted and a T that is not crossed if you are somebody who is genuinely interested in Cernunnos in the modern world and what a relationship with the god is truly like. I hope that you'll join us for our Cernunnos class.
Homework. What kind of a jerk teacher assigns homework on orientation day? Well, it's a short class. We got to get on it. So, two homework assignments between now and the time that that Module 1 starts. First, get the Book of Cernunnos. And once you have it, read Cernunnos Then and Now by Jason. We're going to be covering a lot of these things in Module 1. This will prepare you for that discussion. And that's it. I have been thinking about this ever since, well before the Book of Cernunnos came out. I know Jason is excited about teaching an online course on the God who is so meaningful to us, who has been so important throughout my life. And I'm glad some of you are coming along for this. I hope you like what you see. I hope you'll register for this class. I hope to see you in the live Q&A when we do that. So welcome to the Call of Cernunnos.